my name is Brian Lee, and this is my speech for Fundamentals of Oral Communications, my informational speech. This is my audience: Armand Carano, Alex Myers, and Nathalie Boo. And just put this right here. Alright. In the early 20th century, it was not uncommon for horse meat to be found in canned beef. There were incidents of people falling into rendering tanks and being ground up along with animal parts to create lard. Stories of children working in meatpacking factories and being exploited were not uncommon. But the reason why that no longer happens today is due to the public outrage that journalists and other individuals created as they found out about these unpalatable truths. These insiders who inform the public are commonly known as whistleblowers. And as you may have gathered, that my speech is going to be on whistleblowers today, and more importantly, their relationship and legacy in America. I've done quite a lot of research on whistleblowers in the past, and their relationship in the American zeitgeist is really interesting to me. But you may be wondering why exactly whistleblowers are important. And the relationship that they have had with the America is intertwined with understanding how many of our regulations and laws today became created. Today, we will examine how they helped create one of the most powerful federal regulatory bodies, like the FDA, fought political corruption in an era notorious for political wrongdoing, and a notoriously corrupt era, and how modern whistleblowing carries on that legacy of fighting social injustices. The Federal Drug Administration is the Federal Drug and Food Administration is one of the most powerful regulatory bodies in the world today, but it found its roots in the Gilded Age in the late and early 19th and 20th century. In fact, one sole whistleblower by the name of Upton Sinclair was responsible for the creation of the Federal Drug and Food Administration. He wrote a book called The Jungle, which exposed exploitative and unsanitary practices that affected the meatpacking industry. As explained earlier, anywhere from horse meat to human body parts could be found and commonly used in bought commercial products. According to the article titled The Food and Drug Administration, The Continued History of Drug Advertising, Upton Sinclair's work was so influential and was so well received by the public that the resulting public outrage forced Congress's hand into action. This prompted the creation of the FDA. Upton Sinclair's work was not uncommon for the period he was from. Other whistleblowers, collectively known as the muckrakers, rose to prominence attacking issues of corruption facing all angles of America during the same era. Lincoln Steffens, a graduate of Berkeley, wrote a collection of articles known as The Shame of the Cities. These articles exposed rampant corruption and previously unknown political wrongdoing, and the existence of political machines that controlled American politics from the era. The Shame of the Cities showed the corruption of William Boss Tweed, who ran Tammany Hall. Tammany Hall was a political society that was utilized by Boss Tweed to run the politics of New York. Tweed would exchange support to immigrants in exchange for their numerous votes, which prevented true democracy from taking place. Boss Tweed effectively ran New York politics, controlling who got into office, and therefore also decided who would lose political races and who would win them. These political machines were previously unknown before the work of Steffens, and was really just part of the political underbelly that the common citizen never really got to take a look at. With the history and the importance of whistleblowing in the legacy of American established, it is also important to understand that whistleblowers are always fighting against corruption, and that contemporary whistleblowers exist and are still trying to change society. An employee at Boeing named Josh Barnett has made statements recently over the last couple of years accusing Boeing of purposely fitting faulty gear into airplanes and also putting faulty oxygen masks into airplanes. This story has become one of the most important, showing the power of contemporary whistleblowers and corporations in the modern era. Barnett stated that Boeing fitted oxygen masks that they knew were faulty, as well as planes were being fitted with substandard parts on a production line to cut costs. This is what Theo Leggett of BBC reports. Since Barnett's accusations, there has been a formal federal investigation led by the Federal Aviation Administration, better known as the FAA. These investigations are no small matter and could put pressure on the giant airplane manufacturer. Barnett has previously worked as a Boeing quality control manager, which explains his notoriety and his background in such matters. America owes so much of its current society to the whistleblowers of previous eras. Without the actions and agitations by previous whistleblowers, so many of our national regulatory bodies would not exist. Furthermore, things that we take for granted would not have ever existed. The USDA approved stickers on our poultry and beef. Those were the fruits of Upton Sinclair's labor. Our current political system, as flawed as it is still significantly better than the era of political machines, which didn't even take into account what the citizens actually wanted. Instead, it basically was exchange, quid pro quo, between people who ran political machines and people who didn't have much power, such as immigrants. This was a really horrible, discriminatory and very debilitating part of the American democracy. The job of the whistleblower is still not over. Josh Barnett's fight against Boeing's impropriety is just one example of contemporary whistleblowers fighting for a better America. This is one last look at my audience to show that they're still here. And thank you for listening to my speech.